Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you from where you're joining us from. It's wonderful to have you all in this call. So maybe before we start, I will start by introducing myself. My name is Barbara Linkoy, and I'll be your facilitator alongside my colleague Maya Shang. She will be able to introduce herself as we progress. So maybe before I even start with invocation, can we set some ground rules? On the next slide, please. Javier. Okay. So just setting putting the house in order. Please put your name and organization and country, and also you can keep your video on if possible, and your microphone muted so that it doesn't disrupt the presentations. If you get disconnected, please rejoin with the same link. And also, if you have questions to ask, please write on the chat box, and then my colleague Lila will be able to read after we're done with the presentations. And then just for formalities, this meeting will be recorded, and we will have a photo, taken at the end of this webinar. So just as a tradition within FIMI, we always start our meetings with, invocations. Today I'll do it differently. I would like to share words of encouragement, peace, and hope. We know that within the different countries that we are based at, there are, some issues of instability, conflicts, and today we want to share, some peace and hope with you. So I'll read a poem here. So I'll go ahead. So it's a call for peace and hope. So today we gather, though miles apart, connected by purpose and united in heart. From mountains and valleys, from forest and plains, we carry one vision, that hope still remains. In a world that is burdened by conflict and fear, we choose to listen, to learn, and to hear. We choose collaboration instead of divide, and walk hand in hand with compassion and guide. Peace is not silence, nor the absence of pain. It is planting new seeds after seasons of rain. It is lifting each other when burdens are great, and believing in future we still have a chance to create. Hope is the light that refuses to fade, the promise that change can still be made. It lives in the courage of communities strong, in voices once unheard, now singing their song. To our partners and friends, we offer our thanks for standing together across every rank, for investing in people, in dreams, and in care, and providing through actions that our better world can be shared. May our efforts bring healing where wounds have been deep. May justice awaken where promises sleep. And may the work we begin and continue today help peace and hope flourish along the way. Together we plant, together we grow, together we nurture the future we know. So for when hearts unite around a common call, peace and hope becomes possible for all. So we'll have 10 seconds of silence, just that these words, move within us. So thank you so much, and I hope those words move in you, within you as an individual, within an organization, and with the people you continue to impact. So I will introduce what FIMI is, what it does, the programs within FIMI, and the eligibility, and then talk about Ayni Fund as a specific, which is the philanthropic arm, and then the eligibility criteria that FIMI uses when bringing partners on board. So when we talk about FIMI, I'd like us to create a mental picture of an umbrella that brings together, so FIMI is like this large umbrella that brings together Indigenous women from different regions and communities under one protective and supportive space. So just like the umbrella, providing shelter from rain and harsh weather, FIMI amplifies the voices of the Indigenous women. It also advocates for their rights, and it also creates opportunities for leadership and solidarity, and that is what we always preach. So when we talk about the umbrella, the handle represents the organization's mission and vision, which provides direction and strength. While the handles that hold the canopy or the ribs that hold the canopy symbolizes the different programs within FIMI and the area of work. And these different programs include political participation and advocacy, global leadership, research programs, and then Ayni Fund, which has convened this particular meeting. So under this umbrella, the Indigenous women can find unity, visibility, and collective strength to address the common challenges while celebrating the unique identity and knowledge systems. So in a nutshell, FIMI is a global network that connects, supports, and advocates for the Indigenous women across the region. So we will go into the broader to speak about Ayni Fund, and as I've mentioned, it is the philanthropic arm of FIMI. So next slide, please. So Ayni Fund. So most partners spell out Ayni as AYNI. So today I would like to correct that and help you pronounce it as Ayni Fund. And Ayni is a Kichwa word, which means reciprocity and collaboration within the community. So Ayni Fund program mobilizes, finances, human resource, and also material to support Indigenous women organization in strengthening their capacity and in the implementation of economies, environmental and social development projects. So Ayni Fund has 3 grant-making strategies, and one of it is a seed project, and the other one is leading from the South. And this current call is leading from the South 3. So these 2 grant-making strategies are not limited to regions. It cuts across all the regions, that is Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The last grant-making strategy is Indigenous Peoples Assistance Facility, that is IPAF. And then IPAF is only concentrated within the Latin America. So within Ayni Fund, there are different mechanisms where these finances are spread to our partners. And this is through open call, like this specific one, and then direct call. And for the direct call, it's specific to existing partners where FIMI reaches out to them and welcomes them to participate in that particular call. And then the last one is regranting. So with regranting, one organization is granted the finances and then it subfunds or subgrants to other organizations so that this finances reaches to even the grassroots organizations. So next slide, please. Then now we come to the very important questions that many of you have asked before. So who do we support? Who do we accompany? What are the eligibility criteria that FIMI looks into when selecting their partners? So one, you have to be an Indigenous women's organization or network. And then the organization, another one is the organization must be led by Indigenous women. That is having 50% of the board of directors and key decision makers to be women, okay? And of course, it must be from eligible countries. The other thing or item that FIMI looks into is whether the organization is registered. And if it's not, and whether it has an existing and an operational bank account. And if it doesn't, does it have an organization that can be a physical sponsor that is registered? The other item is all organizations must provide only one proposal. We believe in equitable sharing of finances or funds, and therefore, because we know that many organizations have different ideas or projects, so instead of funding one organization with different projects, we fund one proposal per organization. And the last item is we also fund new organizations that have never received funds from FIMI before, but it has to have all the eligibility that we've just mentioned. What don't we fund? So we do not fund proposals submitted by organizations that are not led by Indigenous women or non-Indigenous organization or even politically instigated organization or even individuals. The other thing that cancel out people during the process is incomplete application forms. So when your form is incomplete, then that automatically throws you from the system. And last but not least is failure to submit organization documents if invited to submit a full proposal. So, and these proposals are usually under specific thematic areas. And I will now give the floor to my colleague, Maya, who will introduce herself and then progress with them with the presentation. So thank you, Maya, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. So hello once again to everyone. Good afternoon to some people, good evening to some people. So my name is Maya Shang, as Barbara has said, and I'm the grant making coordinator of the Asia and the Pacific region. So I will continue with the rest of the presentation. So Javier, can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so now the next thing is what are the thematic areas that we are covering in this call? So we have 7 thematic areas. The first one is prevention and elimination of all forms of violence against Indigenous women and girls, political participation and advocacy, holistic health, well-being and care of Indigenous women, Indigenous wisdom, art, culture and sports, economic empowerment, access and right to land and territorial resources, and climate change, resilience, and disaster risk reduction. So out of these 7 thematic areas, you can choose any one of those and then work on and submit your proposal according to that. Can we have the next slide, please, Javier? Okay, so now the next thing is what is the application process? So the application needs to be filled online, And then if you have gone through the call that we have sent out, we have already sent out the implementation guide, which will give you guidance on many questions that you might, the initial questions that you might have on the call, like, are we eligible? How do we approach? What are the thematic areas? How much grant we are giving? All those things are mentioned in the implementation guide. And any questions that are not answered will be there in the frequently asked questions. So you can go through the FAQ list as well. And then you need to submit the application, complete the application online. And then one important thing that you need to consider is the recommendation letter. And then this recommendation letter needs to come from Indigenous Peoples Organization. So when we say a recommendation letter or the reference letter, we are referring to a written statement confirming that the applicant is an Indigenous women or Indigenous Peoples Organization or network with a strong record of working on Indigenous peoples issues or Indigenous women's issues. So that is what we meant by recommendation letter. And this is a very important letter and a prerequisite for the application. Can we go to the next slide, please, Javier? So before I talk about this, I just request all the participants to please put your questions in the chat box, in the Q&A chat box. I know some of our colleagues are already answering, and then we will try to get back to you after this presentation on the questions that you have posted in the question and answer chat box. So here, like I said, this is the link which is already there in the invitation. So this is the link that you need to go to where you fill up the application form and then you submit it along with the recommendation letter. And then, like I said in the previous slide, we have the implementation guide as well as the FAQ checklist. But in case you still have any more questions regarding the call, you can always reach out to this email ID, Ayni2026@iiwf.org. So any queries you have regarding the call, which is not answered through the guideline, through the FAQ, you can reach out to this email ID for your specific queries, and we will get back to you on your queries. Can we have the next slide, please, Javier? Okay, so what is the timeline? So as you know, we have kicked off the call on the 1st of June 2026, and the deadline to complete the application process is 30th of June 2026, 12 a.m. Lima, Peru time, which is the place where the FIMI is registered. So this is the deadline to complete your application. So once we have received all the applications, we have a selection committee which will be from all regions of the area that we work with. So the selection committee will go through all the application process and see whether the application list meets the criteria and all the required informations are there. And then once we have done that, we will start reaching out to you with our response on whether you have been selected or not, starting from September. So this will go on through September, October, because we have often, based on our past experience, we have a lot of applicants. So we need time to go through the applications, and we will reach out to you by September, October. Next slide, please, Javier. Okay, and so what are the grant sites that we have? So in this particular call, we are offering two grant sites. One is small and one is medium. So both grant sites can be from 12 months to 18 months. The duration of the call, the project can be 12 months or 18 months, 12 months to 18 months, depending on your own priority. And then the small grant size is from 5,000 to 20,000 USD. So these are for Indigenous women. The target groups are Indigenous women organizations presenting community, local, or grassroots initiatives. So these are mostly the Indigenous women organizations or Indigenous peoples organizations working at the grassroots level. And the second category we have is the medium-sized grant, which is between 25,000 USD to 50,000 USD. So the target group for this size is Indigenous women's organizations with extensive experience implementing projects and presenting regional or national initiatives. So based on whichever you fit in, you can either apply for a small grant or medium grant. Javier, next slide, please. So what are the geographical area that we cover? So Ayni covers all regions. So but medium grants will be only for the global South regions. So this call we will be having applications from all over the world, from Latin America, from Pacific region, from Asia, from Africa, but the medium grants is only for global South regions. Next, please, Javier. So inquiries. So these are some important things that we want to reiterate, which is for any queries, reach out to INI2026, iiwf.org. And which organizations are eligible? Indigenous women's organizations or Indigenous people's organizations with at least 50% Indigenous women in the decision-making bodies or coordination space. So these are the two types of organizations that can apply. So we request that all of you first read the implementation guide thoroughly and go through the frequently asked questions. And then if you still have questions, you can reach out to us. So, and send in your application online and along with the attachment with your recommendation letter attached. And the last date for receiving the application is 30th June 2026, 12 a.m. Lima, Peru time. Yeah, next slide, please, Javier. Okay, so these are the important links, which is already mentioned in the call that we had sent out. So this is the link where you can click and you can go to the portal where you will create your account and then start your application process. And you can, once you start your application process, you can save your application and always go back to it later to continue and complete your application at your own pace. And for any questions and queries, once again, we are giving out this email ID, INI2026@iiwf.org. You can reach out to this email for your queries. Next, yes, so I think we have come to the end of the presentations, but I know that we already have a lot of questions in the question chat box. So some we have already answered, but I do believe that there are some questions that has come up. So I request one of our colleague, Lila, she will read out the questions that are similar, the prominent questions that are repeating, and then we will try to answer whatever as much as we can. Yeah, over to you, Lila.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Barbara. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Lila Eisenberg. I am part of the FIMI team. I am the lead coordinator at the Ayni Fund of FIMI. I have been reading the questions. There's a lot of questions in the chat box. Maybe the ones that are more frequent are related to the themes that this call cover. If proposals can include one or more themes in their proposals. Also, there are some questions related to the organizations that are eligible. I also see some questions in relation to what the Global South regions mean, Global South means. I stopped there, so maybe we can go through those issues and then go back and see if we have more burning questions to address.
So maybe I can pick up the question on the thematic areas and whether a project can have one or more themes. It's good to take at least one theme, but you can have, depending on what theme you take, you can have different activities that touches on the different thematic areas, as long as it speaks to the larger project or the larger theme that you're working on. Yeah. Do you have anything, Maya, to add on that?
No, I think you have answered, Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think regarding the eligibility questions, which we already mentioned in the presentation, and that is mentioned even in the guideline and the FAQ, is that the only Indigenous women organizations are eligible, and the second type of organization that are eligible are Indigenous peoples organization, which have at least 50% of their decision-making body includes at least 50% of their decision-making body as Indigenous women. So only these two type of organizations are eligible to apply.
Maybe just to add on what Maya has said, you can have an Indigenous organization led by a man, but at least 50% of the decision-making body should be Indigenous women. Yeah. I think maybe the question on the Global South, maybe Lila, you could touch on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Barbara. Yes, this call is mainly focused on the Global South, but for those countries that are not part of the Global South, I see a questions in relation to North America. They are, organizations based on countries in North America can also apply, but just for small grants. Medium grants are organizations that are based on the Global South can both apply for small and medium grants. I also see another question in relation to the budget. People are asking about the template. And this is an important question because as you might have seen, we have a guideline and frequent asked questions that where you will be able to find a lot of this information. Most of this information that we just present and that we are responding on the chat box is on these two documents. But it's important for you to know that this document introduce you with the main information of the call. But for you to have the budget template, you need to get into the platform. So you need to apply. You need to go into the platform where the link for the platform is also in the guideline. And once you are in the platform, you will be able to get the budget template. So you will not able to find it either in the frequent asked question guide or the guideline that we developed for this call, but is part of the platform that we have for you to include all of the information in relation to your project. Another question that I see is in relation to the recommendation letter. Yeah, maybe you want to address that. What of recommendation letter?
Okay.
are
maybe.
are important to include. Yeah, please, Maya.
Yes, so for the recommendation letter, as we already mentioned as well, so the recommendation letter has to be, it is a letter that confirms, because these organizations that is applying for this call are new organizations that FIMI is not familiar with. So we are not aware of what kind of organization that is. That's why we strongly request that you send this recommendation letter, which is provided by that, which will confirm to us that this applicant is an Indigenous women or Indigenous peoples organization who has a strong credibility of doing relevant groundwork on the ground. So it can be given by Indigenous Women Network, Indigenous Women's Organization, or Indigenous Peoples Organizations or Network. So I hope that answers the question. One question I see, which I just would like to answer here, because this is a question that was raised recently by other partners that we are dealing with, is do the legal representative of the proposal, whoever the MOU, that needs to be a lawyer. So the legal representative does not need to be a lawyer or an advocate. What we mean by legal representative is someone who will be signing the MOU between FIMI and the organizations that we are partnering with. So by legal representative, we mean that one. Yeah, so any other questions that we think that we should be answering, Lila?
Yes, Maya, maybe in relation to the if other organizations that have received already funding from FIMI are eligible in this phase. If you want, I can address that.
Yes, please.
And okay, thank you. So maybe you can complement. For this 2026 call, we are trying to reach partners, organizations that have never been partners with FIMI. This is the main goal of this call. However, organizations that have been partnered with FIMI before 2020, they are welcome to apply. If you have received funding either either from the Ayni Fund or other programs, reach us out, but the idea is for new partners to get on board in this phase, in this call. And for those who have received funding from the Ayni Fund in previous year, just for those who received funding before 2020 are welcome to apply. The others are not going to be part of this call because, as I mentioned, the idea is to reach all partners or new partners that haven't received funding before. Another question I see is in relation to the fiscal sponsor for those organizations that are that may not have a bank account or registration, how they can apply. If you want to go through that.
Okay, Lila. So if an organization is is eligible to apply, but they are not a registered organization due to various reasons, maybe it can be political or whatever. And if they do not have a bank account, they can use a fiscal sponsor to apply. You can use a fiscal sponsor to apply. And the fiscal sponsor do not need to be Indigenous people's organization or Indigenous women's organization. The fiscal sponsor can be any other, but there needs to be a memorandum of understanding between the fiscal sponsor and the partner that we are funding. And through the fiscal sponsor, they will receive the fund to implement the project. And then the fiscal sponsor needs to provide all the details like the bank account, their registration, fill up the wire transfer form, as well as provide the audit report and all the things that is required. This type of organizations will provide the fiscal host documentations, and we can partner through this as well.
I want to see another interesting question. And it's asking, can two sister organizations, both indigenous, apply for funding for projects that are separate from each other but time work together? Lila, would you like to respond to that?
Can you repeat that question, Barbara, please?
Can two sister organizations, both indigenous, apply for funding for projects that are separate from each other, but at time work together?
I see. They can apply together, but just one organization, one of the two organizations need to be the one who is, filling out the form and receiving the funding. Then you can have an alliance, or you can work together in relation to this project, but just one of these two organizations is able to apply. I see also some questions in related to if one organization is part of another fund. That is fine. I mean, as long as the organization meet their eligibility criteria, which, as my colleague mentioned, is in relation to the fact that they are an Indigenous women organization, or they have at least 50% of women in decision-making spaces. They can apply. They are welcome to apply. We don't really care or see if they are part of another fund. That is totally fine. We are including for those who haven't had the chance to see the guideline or the frequent asked questions. We are including both documents in the chat box. We want to emphasize that we have these two documents where you will be able to find all the information that you need to complete and meet the requirements for this call. We also have an email address, which is Ayni2026 at iiwf.org. where you will also be able to find in these two documents where we are receiving emails and answering questions from now until the end of June. So do not hesitate to reach us out with questions or comments that you might have. We are receiving a lot of emails daily, but if you don't get your answer, do not worry. We are going to reply as soon as we can. So we are, in case your question has not been replied today, do not worry. You can also reach us at that email address, and we will be happy to address your question. I don't know if we have another thing to cover now. Let me check that all the information is in the chat box. Otherwise, we maybe want to start with the closing and we will also check if there's something or anything else at the chat box that we need to cover now. So please, over to you, Barbara and Maya.
Thank you so much, Lila. Thank you for that advice that you've given to them. So please pay attention to the details on the implementation guide, or even on the links that you've been told, to check on. Remember, we mentioned that any missing out of any information can lead to the, you being thrown off from the application. So any mistake, because we know that applicants will be many, so please take the chance to go through the information that you've been asked to provide keenly. I would like to appreciate our other colleagues who are very functional behind the scene that have not spoken but very active. I'd like to appreciate the interpreters, Javier, and the rest of the team. We are really grateful, and just as Lila said, this, if your question has not been responded to, please do not feel that we have neglected it. You can always reach out through the email that we have provided, and we will surely get back to you as soon as possible. If in case you have any doubts, you're stranded through the application process, do not suffer. We are here to assist you so that you can get back onto the application process. For the old partners, do not feel left out. There's always another call. There are always direct calls that are going to include you. And as we said, we are firm believers on equitable sharing. So we feel that when we also share the little that we have with the new partners or even the old partners, we transform the nation one community at a time. So thank you all very much. I was your facilitator, Barbara Lincoln, standing in for the regional coordinator. And I think I'll give my colleague Maya to also offer her, closing remarks before we say goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. So I think my colleague Barbara have said everything. So like she said, this is not the end. So we still have time till 30th June. So request you all to start working on your application and reach out. Feel free to reach out to us whenever you have any questions, and we'll be happy to answer. So thank you all very much for taking out time to be a part of this webinar where we have shared information, and we hope that this session has been useful to you. Hope that we have been able to answer some of the questions that you have. And then we will look forward to receiving your applications and then going through it and working with you all, with some of you in the future, in the days to come. So thank you all for coming to this webinar. And I think with this, we will close the meeting. Thank you all. Leila, do you have anything else to say?
No, thank you. Just thank you for your participation. And as Maya said, we are looking forward to receiving your emails and your applications. Thanks a lot. Have a good day and evening for everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.